Hello.
Good to see you. How are you doing?
I'm all right.
Looking forward to the show?
Yeah.
Watching the vetting?
Yeah.
Following the court? Right now, if you're a journalist, there are two assignments. You have to watch the court.
Watch vetting.
Then watch vetting small.
That's it.
It's very important. Kuku, good morning.
Morning, Bernardino.
How are you doing?
I'm okay.
You're better today than you were yesterday.
Yes.
Obviously better than Monday.
Charlie, much better than Monday.
That I know.
But Charlie, there's some serious potholes.
Where?
Causing trouble. Okay.
Where?
Pabenya, you know Pabenya Road?
Yes, please.
The intersection that will take you to Pokrasi.
Oh, that one. Is it an intersection? It's just a turn, right?
It's a turn, but it's become a trotro hub.
Oh, Lord.
And you know, there are lots of big vehicles that use that route. Obviously, there's a lot of construction going on. So
left and right.
In fact, I think it looks like they're trying to build a swimming pool there. The thing
Lord.
is so huge
It's
and
massive.
big. And it's getting worse
But
and worse.
the last time I came there, they had done some gutters and they were trying to level the road.
Where? At which point?
So from the school coming towards that turn. So when you come from the Balloon Gate roundabout and you come towards that turn, all the way to Ashoman, I've seen some gutter being done.
Charlie,
I saw some road be.
That intersection is a problem.
It's
a problem, and it gets very, very choked and causes a lot of traffic. You know, then the second one is the atomic, and the one I keep talking about, the atomic energy one.
It's still there.
Oh,
how big is it?
Bernard, let me. The other day, right? There's this huge truck who I think saw it too late,
entered it,
and tried to dodge.
Oh Lord!
Now there was a small, like one of these i10 looking cars coming the other direction. Charlie,
oh no!
Seriously, it nearly fell on top of this small car just from trying to swerve.
So huge pothole and then small pothole.
The small one is becoming huge, bigger and deep. It's deep. If you make the mistake of falling in that thing.
Well, the problem is that we don't know who to call. We don't know who to ask, whether it's the roads or whatever. You know, during the show, we'll solve that problem for you. Okay. Let's start with the headlines with Daily Graphic.
Well, the Daily Graphic says, roads dualization in offing. Minister designate assures. You can't reopen case. Supreme Court tells Mahama. And time to tax Momo proceeds. That's according to Ursula Owusu Ekufu.
All right, the Ghanaian Times. Jean Mensah as adverse witness. Supreme Court dismisses motion. Pastor remanded over police enlistment scam. Hey, a pastor has been remanded over police enlistment scam.
The world is coming to an end.
853,009 math sets calculators to be distributed to 2021 WASI candidates.
Look at that.
It was too late for 2020. So 2021, 2021. Marital pressures and COVID-19 complications supposedly are the causes of police suicide. That's on the front page.
Oh, really?
That's what they're saying here.
Hey.
Okay, the Daily Guide says, election petition, Mahama dismissed 7-0. Can't reopen case. Judges have predetermined agenda. That's according to Dominic Ayine. Interchanges major roads for second term. That's Kwesi Amoakwanta speaking. Fight erupts over gaming license. Edubuahin acts as president's rep at finance ministry. And you can't compare 2013 and 2021 petitions.
The Chronicle. Jean Mensah escapes Chachu's legal trap. Also, Bawumia's braininess forced Afarijan into the witness box, not a subpoena. This is Kojo Nkrumah speaking. NLA threatens to revoke Alpha Lotto's license if, then there's an ellipsis that follows, and I'll seek increment in road tolls when approved, says Amoakwanta, aka Terminator.
The Daily Statesman also has a take on several issues. NLA says Alpha Lotto not among our legal digital lottery operators. Roads Minister designate advocates more road tolls to augment development. NDC lawyer attacks Supreme Court. Dr. Ayine accuses justices of predetermined agenda against Mahama. An appointments committee to reschedule vetting date for Ken Oforiatta.
The Finder has many headlines. Mahama failed to adduce new evidence and show how it will help resolve the case, says the Supreme Court. Dr. Bawumia's brilliance compelled Dr. Farijan into the witness box, not a subpoena, says Opong Nkrumah. 542 succumbed to COVID-19 and 33 others in critical condition. Ex-President Mahama files 2 more applications. CocoBot CEO celebrates Chocolate Week with school children in Tano North, and 1,200-kilometer asphalt overlays completed in 2020.
The Herald says troubled Napo fires empty threats over $12 million mathematical set scandal. Akufo-Addo's 2020 victory still tainted as Supreme Court allows EC boss to run away. How Boakye Ejaku buried Ghana in $164 million judgment debt. And Osafumafu influenced investigation of Opuni by CID. Investigator tells court.
The new publisher, Gene swerves Chachu again, won't go into the box. Also, weed smoker caught bonking police chief's wife.
Seriously?
NLA explains.
Lord have mercy.
Okay, front page headline. NLA explains real status of Alpha Lotto. John Mahama Eyes 2024. Sexual assault and robbery at SHS in Ashanti. And Ghana Immigration Service gets a new PRO for Greater Accra.
Okay, and the BNFT's front page has a number of stories. Transparency issues stain world-class COVID-19 test regime at KIA. That's according to an aviation expert. Prioritize remaining $750 million debt, get us cheaper gas, IPPs to government, and selecting nuclear energy vendor is top of my agenda. That's according to Matthew Opoku Prempe.
Before we come into the headlines, good morning, my brother. There's an accident on the conjunction to Temagov Road, creating bad traffic. We need the police now, please. So police, please, you've heard what they've been saying. Let me give you a few round of headlines from online. I am not responsible for $134 million judgment debt. This is Boakye Ejaku. Also, Ghana Health Service issues Ebola alert as Guinea confirms 7 cases and deaths. Other stories, Occupy Ghana takes on Kandapa over comments on Auditor General's independence. And police adequately resourced. We don't need army to boost our work. This is Ambrose Derry at the appointment committee. Citi Business News, private water supply business booms at Amrahia. Also, farm associations call for strategy to prevent shortage of maize. And we will oppose any plans to increase transport fares, according to COPEC. Meanwhile, the IESS $134 million GCBC judgment debt has damaged Ghana's reputation. MyJournalline.com, you cannot reopen your case. Supreme Court dismisses Mahama's application. Stored Konfanochi Maternity and Children's Block Project to be pulled down. And 13 more die of COVID-19 cases. Active cases now 7,850. If you go to Star FM, lead story, predetermined agenda comment not meant to attack judges. This is Ayine following his interview with the media. What else are you doing in court? Kwikuaza to Mahama. And why is Supreme Court treating Jim Mensah like a private citizen? Dominic Ayine has been trending. In fact, he was trending on Twitter yesterday. GNA lead story, court adjourns treason trial due to COVID-19 upsurge. Meanwhile, as I read, Ghana Health Service issues Ebola alert, and police seek psychology associations help in dealing with suicide cases. That's an important story. All right, let's jump into the details. So much to talk about, Nathan.
Okay, I think we can start from the Supreme Court. So page 16 of the Daily Graphic says former President John Mahama, the petitioner challenging the outcome of the 2020 presidential election, has failed in yet another attempt to have the chairperson of the EC, Mrs. Jane Adukwe-Mensah, testify in court. The Supreme Court yesterday dismissed Mr. Mahama's application, seeking leave to reopen his case to enable his lawyers subpoena Mrs. Mensah to appear before the court and testify. In a unanimous decision, the 7-member panel of the Apex Court held that the application was without merit because the petitioner could not provide any cogent legal justification to back it.
There are so many angles to this story. So for example, initially there's a report about Dominic Ayine commenting on what the judges did. Then there's also Mahama filing something else today. So that's going to be the lead issue. June Mensah testimony, Mahama seeks to halt election petition here pending review of the ruling. So let me give you that before we come into reaction. So John Mahama's legal team in his election petition has filed an application to halt the ongoing case pending a review of the ruling upholding the EC's chairperson's decision not to testify. Now, Mr. Mahama's lawyers maintain that not getting the EC chairperson to testify has occasioned a grave miscarriage of justice. The ruling of the Supreme Court was in fundamental error in failing to appreciate how the crucial constitutional role of the EC chairperson necessitated her being called upon to testify. So the team on Tuesday failed in the attempt to reopen their case and subpoena Mrs. Mensah. And so now they've made an application today asking for the review. And don't forget, the court had asked the two sides to file their final addresses. So they are saying, let this review happen before the case continues. And that will be held this morning. Now let's go to so many reactions to this. If you check, for example, different websites. Dominic Ayene's comment has been trending, and I'll give you some reaction and his attempt to clarify. So the first story says, ruling on case reopen motion smacks of predetermined agenda. Okay, so that was this is Star News. And then the same website has him now come back to say this comment was not meant to attack the judges, because it's in the Daily Guide, for example, they've led with that.
They say
comment.
Judges have predetermined agenda. That's
exactly.
According to Dominic Ayine. And it says a former Deputy Attorney General has said that the Supreme Court judges hearing the presidential election petition filed by former President John Mahama to challenge the 2020 presidential election results have a predetermined agenda. Dr. Dominic Ayine, who doubles as the NDC MP for Bolga East in the Upper East region, made a statement yesterday after the proceedings of the court. He did not understand why the court dismissed Mr. Mahama's application to reopen the case to enable him subpoena the EC chairperson, who was the returning officer for the presidential ballot. Now, speaking as a spokesperson for the petitioner after the hearing in Accra yesterday, Dr. Ayine further accused the highest court of reducing the 4 or 5 issues set for determination of the petition to just an issue.
Now, Kojo Oponkum has also been speaking on this, making a different... Yes, let's get there. Then I'll come to Ayene's sort of push back on this.
All right. So in page 10 of the Finder, Dr. Bawumia's brilliance compelled Dr. Farijan into the witness box, not a subpoena. Spokesperson for the lawyers of the second respondent in the ongoing 2020 election petition hearing, Kojo Oponkrumah, has stated that there's a major difference between how former chairman of the Electoral Commission, Dr. Kojo Farijan, appeared in the witness box in 2013 and what the 2020 petitioners are seeking to achieve in the ongoing hearing. He addressed journalists in Accra yesterday after the Supreme Court dismissed an application filed by former President Mahama to have his case reopened. According to the court, they found no merit in the application. The court's decision has further worsened attempts by the petitioner to have the Mrs. G. Mensah to give evidence. But Kojo Oponkrumah stressed that there's a major difference between 2013 and the current case. He said that the brilliance of the then running mate, Alhaji Dr. Bawumia, in demonstrating 11,000 pink sheets and the problems with it compelled Dr. Farijan that if he did not get into the witness box, the job that he had done was going to be set aside.
All right, then let's go to the other one. So Dominic Ayine is now saying that it's not fair to him that, okay, basically Kojo Oponkrumah was interviewed about Mr. Ayene's comment that the court had a predetermined agenda. So Oponkrumah said it's not fair to our judicial system, it's not fair to our democracy, it's not fair to the people of Ghana. But speaking on Star today, in reaction to the criticism, a former Deputy Attorney General expressed his appointment in the government spokesperson's comment. He says, I am a senior lawyer to Kojo. Kojo should not take to always seeking to incite the court against me, as if I don't know what I'm saying. Then he goes on to talk about what he said and what he meant and all of this. So we're back in court later today. Back to vetting, Nathan, because there's a couple of stories from the roads minister.
Yes, on page 6 of the Daily Guide, the minister designate says he's revealed that the Akufo-Addo government's aggressive road development program for the second term will focus on dualization of all major roads and the construction of interchanges across the country. So that is Kwesi Amoakwata speaking. And according to him, the government is making every effort to open up the country in terms of road infrastructure and, quote, build on the dualization of our roads to halt the carnage on our roads, end quote. Now, he said this when he took his turn at the public vetting of the Appointments Committee of Parliament yesterday.
There are a couple of other headlines from his appearance. For example, he says it's sad local contractors are not internationally competitive. He also said that Ghana's toll rates are too low. I don't know if you have that.
I do. In the Chronicle, I'll seek increments in road tolls when approved. In order to increase the financing of major roads in Ghana, the Minister-designate for Roads and Highways, Mr. Kwesi Amoakwata, has indicated that the first thing he will do is to increase road tolls when he's approved as minister. He said Ghana's toll rate is the lowest in the world, and this makes it unattractive to investors who would have wished to finance roads through a build, operate, transfer agreement. He indicated that if Ghanaians want to enjoy good roads, they should be prepared to pay more tolls. Okay. He says Ghana pays the lowest rate. If you want to go the BOT way, the research that has been done is that on average, the toll rate is around $1, which is close to 6 cedis. But in this country, people pay 50 pesos for tolls. So if I get approved, one of the things I will do first is increase the tolls. I'll go to cabinet with a proposal to do this and bring it to parliament for approval.
He also says he's worried that road contractors in Ghana do not match up to their counterparts abroad. He says a situation where locals practice as individuals other than joint contractors will always be disadvantageous to them during international competitive bidding. For him, the development is responsible for government decision to even award some road constructions in the country to foreign companies because the locals do not have what it takes to execute such projects. He also said monies owed contractors delayed because of COVID-19. This was in answer to a question about why a lot of contractors claim that they were owed. He says contractors are supposed to be paid within 90 days, and great efforts have been made from time to time to get that done. We followed strict payment regimes and have been fair in paying contractors. We do not discriminate in terms of payment.
Speaking of contractors, he also said that 1,200 kilometers of asphalt overlays were completed in 2020. But he did say that despite efforts by government to support local contractors to build their capacity by coming together to bid for big contracts, most contractors want to remain solo.
Yeah.
So this doesn't augur well for their growth because
Also-
construction is capital intensive.
Also called Nkominfa. Let's move to Ejaku. So a couple of stories around him. The 134 million judgment debt story has been trending for a while. City Business News, for example, has a story that says the Institute of Energy Security says the judgment against us has damaged our reputation, and the contract was signed, and give some background. But Mr. Ejaku yesterday was speaking on Man FM, and he says, I'm not responsible for the judgment debt. So here's a quick summary. Former Energy Minister Boakye Ejaku has denied cancelling Ghana's emergency power agreement with GCGP Limited, which has led to a $134 million judgment debt slapped on the country. He said he had no power to do that when he was in office, and therefore finds it surprising that he has been linked to development. Okay, now what I heard him say was that it was a cabinet decision that he was implementing on behalf of cabinet led by the president. So for people to try and say he was personally responsible is wrong. So I'm not sure he said that they didn't cancel the contract, because that's very clear. They did cancel about 11 contracts. But he's saying that it was not his personal decision, and that it was a cabinet decision that was implemented. He also made the point that the arbitration started after he had left office, and he gave the dates and stuff. The whole story is on citinewsroom.com. And so that's something to keep an eye on. I'm sure there are other papers with different angles to it.
Yes, the Herald, they have a long write-up saying how Boakye Ejaku buried Ghana in $164 million judgment debt. So that's what the Herald is saying. That's on I think page 7 or so, page 6 of the Herald. Quite a long one. Let me just read a paragraph or two. It says documents have started emerging about the decision which led to the termination of the emergency power agreement with GCGP Limited, leading to the $134 million judgment debt that was slapped on Ghanaians over the cancellation. The International Court of Arbitration, in its ruling on the matter, also said the judgment debt came with a $30 million interest payment obligation, bringing the total judgment debt to a whopping $164 million for the payments by a country which is seeking to borrow $120 million for the management of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Ghana Health Service issues Ebola alert as Guinea confirms 7 cases and deaths. This story is on citinewsroom.com. The Ghana Health Service has asked all regional, district and local health authorities to be on high alert as the deadly Ebola virus disease has been recorded in West African country Guinea. Guinea confirmed 7 cases of the deadly virus February 14, leading to the death of 3 persons. Ebola virus disease is a severe, often fatal illness in humans caused by the Ebola virus. It's transmitted to people from wild animals and spreads in the human population through human-to-human transmission. It can be transmitted through contact with body fluids of a person infected with the virus. A letter the Ghana Health Service forwarded to all regional health directorates noted. And then it talks about how to prevent Ebola. Avoid contact with blood and body fluids of people who show any signs of Ebola. Practice hand hygiene, frequent hand washing with soap and running water or alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Don't handle items that may have come in contact with infected person's blood. Avoid contact with animals or with raw or uncooked meat. Do not handle bush meat. And seek medical care immediately you develop a fever, which is a body temperature above 38 degrees Celsius, or other symptoms such as severe headache, fatigue, muscle pain, vomiting, diarrhea, stomach pain, or unexplained bleeding or bruising. Background: we had an outbreak in 2014-2016, 28,000 cases, 11,000 deaths. The outbreak started in Guinea, moved across land borders to Sierra Leone, and eventually Liberia.
Wow. Okay. Remember when the Minister of Health designate told us that the $100 million COVID funding was finished?
Yes.
Okay. Well, our COVID-19 trust fund is empty. This is from Justice Sophia Kufu, yes, and it's in the publisher. The COVID-19 National Trust Fund is in dire need of funds to enable its discharge its mandate, which is to complement government efforts at fighting the coronavirus pandemic. According to the chairperson of the trust fund, Justice Sophia Kufu, the fund could collapse soon if it does not receive any contribution by the close of April this year. She spoke to journalists on the sidelines of the installation of the Digital Laboratory Information System at Noguchi Memorial Institute. She said, now we have an empty warehouse and we're handing over to the army whose property it was. We don't even have items anymore. No PPE, no sanitizers, nothing. In terms of funds, we have just run about 6 million cedis left, which is nothing. The sort of requests we've been receiving. And she also says that if people want to see how the money has been used, you can go to their website and see who donated what and where the money went to. Yeah.
All right, guys, there's a story here. 44-year-old uncompetent Kofa maternity block to be demolished for redevelopment. Story by Hafiz Tijani, Citi Newsroom. The maternity and children's block of Komfano Teaching Hospital in Ashanti is set to be pulled down to allow for the construction of an entirely new edifice. This is because the facility, which has been abandoned for 44 years, failed to meet the structural integrity test after an assessment by the construction firm tasked to ensure its completion.
Wow.
President in May 2020 cut the short for construction of the project and gave a completion deadline of 36 months. Now, the project will be funded by Deutsche Bank at 155 million euros. Minister Osei Mensah spoke to Kumasi-based Ibusan FM, confirmed the decision to pull down the facility was based on a final report by the construction firm after its assessment of the whole structure. Nathan.
If you go to page 25 of the Daily Graphic, you read something about police suicides and all.
Yes.
Now, a consultant psychiatrist, Dr. Eugene Dodoe, has emphasized the need for the country to pay attention to mental health.
Yes.
Now, the psychiatrist, who's a lecturer at the University of Health and Allied Sciences in Ho, said Ghana also needed to reach out to people whose work predisposed them to suicide. He mentioned such people to include the police, firefighters, doctors, farmers, and ex-servicemen and women who used lethal equipment and pesticides or had access to items that could cause personal injury. Now, he was responding to recent cases of suicide among policemen, and he said the alleged suicide cases were reported by the media and observed that the manner in which the stories were published could trigger more suicides.
Speaking of those suicide cases, marital pressures and COVID-19 complications are the cause of police suicide. This is the center spread of the Ghanaian Times. The increasing suicide cases currently being recorded in the police service have been attributed to psychosocial effects, including post-COVID-19 complications and marital pressures. Suicide notes recovered at the scenes of most of the incidents show that the triggering causes of the act were not work-related, but rather as a result of pressures from the home and also COVID-19 complications. A source with the service disclosed this to the Ghanaian Times yesterday. The police source noted that, for instance, in the case of the Deputy Superintendent of Police, Divine Isiam, of the Tema Courts unit, who was found in his room with gunshot wounds last Sunday, the note he left behind revealed that he had COVID-19 and he was self-isolating. Similar thing with Cyprian McCarthy Zenge, who was also battling post-COVID symptoms. So there may be a correlation.
Let
there.
me give you a story from Nigeria on the Premium Times. Nigeria's food inflation at crisis point reaches 11-year high.
Wow.
Story says Nigeria's food inflation rose to the highest level since 2008 in January, a somber illustration of the crisis the nation's food sector has faced, with millions of poor citizens struggling daily to buy food at exorbitant rates. Food inflation climbed to 20.57% year-on-year in January this year, according to data released Tuesday by the Bureau of Statistics, making it the highest in over 11 years. Before now, the highest was in July 2008. Nigeria has seen one of its longest inflationary streaks, with headline inflation reaching a 33-month high in January. Now, analysts blame the rise of COVID-19 pandemic, disruptions, dollar shortages, and lingering restrictions on imports of certain food items, despite the reopening of the borders. Another factor is incessant attacks on farmers, which has caused shortages of goods. And then they talked about places where food price. This is important because in West Africa, we sort of produce certain things together, we import from other places. If Nigeria's food inflation is highest in 11 years, we should watch out here to see what's happening. All right, we have to end it here. You want to give me a quick one?
The math sets, they're coming next year. Well, not that they're coming next year. They'll be distributed next year to the students.
But the guy is still in police grips.
That is not clear.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Kukui.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Nathan. That's all we have time for. Coming up next is the Citi Business News. Stay with us.
On every street, in every town, and all across Ghana,